The House on the Borderland by William Hope Hodgson. A brief review since I've just finished it in this august surroundings. Couldn't find a better place to finish off a book like this because I am in the historic village of St. Fagans, where they have relocated a whole heap of structures from around Wales to serve as an open air museum. This is an old cockpit. I kid you not. This is a place where people used to gather to watch two roosters kill each other bloodily. It was purpose-built in the yard of a pub somewhere and relocated here after the RSPCA justly made that sport illegal. A perfect place to review House on the Borderlands, where there is some timey-wimey stuff happening. So I think probably most people on YouTube, or at least my section of YouTube, have heard of this one because everyone has been raving about this for 2 years. In actual fact, after a while it felt a bit like it was a party that everyone was invited to but me, because I couldn't come across this book. So I was thrilled to find this in Foyles in London. I bought it and I couldn't resist starting it immediately. It does not disappoint. Well, it's not a vast book. It is densely packed with information, and the writing is so beautiful that it lasts a while. It's 190 pages, by the way. Part of the weird fiction Penguin series. I now want more from the same series. So this is the story of the weird house in question, and the story is told with the framing device of two Englishmen going on a fishing trip to a remote village called Neilworth, I think it is. And while they're there, they find this abandoned old house, and within it they find a book. The house itself is just a ruin, a small fragment of the ruin based on remaining on a spur of rock extended out over a huge deep pit. And when these two men take the book back to their tent and read it aloud, it tells the story of the person who lived in the house, an old man at 50, I kid you not, but it was written a while back, who lived there with his old sister who, I don't know, maybe she was 50 as well. Anyway, William Hope Hodgson was born in 1877 in Essex, so I'm guessing in the 1870s I would be decrepit and 50 would be old. So yes, he's living in this house because he wants seclusion and because he got it cheaply. No one in the village comes near it. It's a scary haunted house, but he's lived there for a while perfectly happy. Just him, his sister who might be called Mary and might not, and his dog Pepper. Pepper was actually my favourite character. I like dogs. Anyway, he's lived there for quite a while perfectly happily, and then weird things start happening. He has a dream, a vision, an experience or something where he is transported from his home supernaturally or spiritually or etheric body, who knows, out over to this great wide desert type arena in which there's statues, or are they statues, of strange pagan gods, and there's a replica of his own house. Which is probably all I really want to say about this. Since I heard about this first from many other YouTubers, I'm sure you too have seen many other YouTubers rave about this book. Chris from Liminal Spaces, his review I found exceptionally good. He loves the weird and the liminal, and this is certainly weird and certainly liminal. I don't want to spoil the plot. I didn't see many of these things coming, and I think probably if you haven't read it, just read it and you won't see them coming either, but they will be fascinating. Later on there is a timey-wimey section where William Hope Hodgson has this vision of all eternity, I guess you would say. And it's a very science fiction vision because he talks about the death of the universe and of stars and a whole heap of other things. But he does this in a very literary manner, so exactly what we're seeing is visual rather than a narrative story, in my opinion. There's a lot of other things. There's some pure horror. There's an ending that is that suspense ending that we all like from our horror, before falling back into the framing device of the two men on their fishing trip. So should you read it? Yes, you absolutely should. It's not a long book. If you like weird fiction, science fiction, horror, or just extremely well written literature, all of these things have something in here for you. I think William Hope Hodgson did something really spectacular here. He wrote a horror that doesn't actually feel like a horror while you're reading it, if that makes sense. So if you're reading a Stephen King, other than The Gunslinger, which I just read, maybe more like It or something, it's clear that you're reading a horror story, which is doing the horror story things to you. Dracula does it too. A horror story. I am reading a horror story. I didn't really get this from The House on the Borderland. What I got was, this is a really interesting, well-written, literary piece of work, which the horror creeps up your spine, but only in patches, and then you've got long episodes where you're just reading this story that is indeed weird, wild, fascinating. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Read it quite fast, though not as fast as you'd expect from a book like this, again because the writing is so beautiful. I'm also going to say there is a numinous quality to it in places, and having read this directly after reading C.S. Lewis's Out of the Silent Planet, I was struck by similarities. They're not entirely comparable, but for both of them, you have the framing device of the person to whom it actually happened isn't the person who is narrating the story. It's the person who found the manuscript or has read about what happened. So you've got that. Then you've got this truly wild and at least partly astronomy-based story of things that are happening. You get descriptions of foreign lands and foreign dimensions that are visually beautiful. I'll weigh C.S. Lewis's beauty of description slightly higher there than William Hope Hodgson. Hodgson had a more horror, dread type feel to it than Lewis did. And then as it progresses, that's where you get your variations. C.S. Lewis, it went from being dread and drear to being hopeful and interesting and humanist, whereas Hope Hodgson just took us deeper into the pit, which is essentially where he left us. Fantastic book. I'm going to end with the fact that Penguin Weird Fiction has a quote on the back from one of my favourite authors of all time, Terry Pratchett. "Forget vampires and gore. This is where the screaming really starts, out in the void, with no one left to hear." Wonderful, Terry Pratchett. Oh yes, and I should probably mention that the front cover illustration is by Kate Della, and I believe that Kate Della did all the covers for this recently released Penguin Weird Fiction series, of which I kind of want to acquire them all. I'm not normally a terrible collector, but I love this one so much, I'd like them all. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this shambolic out in the wild video, and maybe if you haven't yet, I'm going to go with the majority vote. This is a book you should read, but if not, read something else. Read good books. Bye.